Sheni Dumelang Tobela, and welcome to our podcast, our EPCSA Online. We will be diving into the history and the heart of our church. I will be your host today, Fumani Sono, Noma Ishfunzeni Sha, Midlands Zone 5, Tonga Presbyteries Rand. Today we have an incredible guest, one of the minds behind our 150 years book. Welcome to our show, Mr. Khensani Maluleke.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Let's just dive into it. 150 years, it must have been such a load on your shoulders having to write or be one of the writers and compiling our history. 150 is so big. What was your yes moment and you taking on this big milestone?
Yeah, I think it was really a great moment in the life of the church and ourselves as writers. Capturing 150 years is no mean task, and we grateful to the church for having entrusted us with this responsibility of putting together this publication in celebrating the 150 years.
All right, thank you very much. And looking back into the major jubilees that we've had passed from your 25 to 100, 140 to today that we are celebrating 150, it must have been a memorable milestone. So what have been your highlights aka the past from the 25 to the 150 years?
I think the coming into being of the church dating back to 1873, 1875, and having our first jubilee in 1898. That for me has been so remarkable in the sense that had it not been for the pioneers of this mission, we wouldn't be here today. So true. I think the first centenary celebration, in my view, or the first jubilee celebration, in my view, was the greatest milestone, given the fact that you look at how this thing came into being. The Swiss missionaries coming to this part of the world and trying their utmost best to bring the word of God, that came with its own challenges as well. So having overcome those challenges, and there are things to be learned from that great experience.
And what do you think, or rather what has shaped the church, looking at it from the time that it had begun, the missionaries coming into Africa to today?
I think quite a lot, because we inga divide matimu ya kereke.
Yes.
80 segments to ambana. Ingava hirna the missionary period, that is the coming of the Swedes. Itela ibana the apartheid period.
Yes.
And ibi ibana period ya attainment of democracy. So these are major segments that define the character of the church. Maybe if I were to dwell a bit on the first part of the epoch that I spoke about, that is the first missionary period. There is a lot that we really learn from the Swiss experience, given what their objective coming to this country was all about. We had hospitals that they introduced, we had schools, we had land, we had anything and everything that one will really think of. And they also brought the print culture to this part of the world, where we had the first translation of the Bible around 1887. We had the first book in 1883. We then had the evangelists who were with them, who Mfundisi Kavil Mapope.
Yes.
Even before that, we had people like Matlanyane, Sekhakhabane, and these are people who came from Lesotho, who came with Polt, Behold, and NS Crew. We really can't talk about the pioneers of the church without mentioning these people, because they were in the forefront of introducing the word of God to the people. And I think that came with its own challenges, because when they came around 1873, there were serious challenges, because their first area where they visited was Sekhukhune land, and they had problems there, because Sekhukhune never took kindly to having whites coming to that area. And if you look at his father, Sikwati, he had relations with the Boers, the Afrikaners, and whoever. So when Sekhukhune took over, he did not follow in his father's footsteps. He chased away the missionaries, the white people. I think the Berlin missionaries suffered that setback, because they were removed from Sekhukhune, and they then went to Botshabelo, the place after being chucked out by Sekhukhune. So I think that really helped. I think it was a blessing for Sekhukhune to have rejected Behot and Crew and the other guys, for a simple reason that they had to move from that area and going northwards, looking for an area where they can really establish themselves. So Vandesia became the area, and all of that.
All right, and in the book, Mr. Maluleke, you also touching on preservation of the Tonga language in literature. A lot of people would say ku EPC ikereke amaTsonga, whereas it was first, when the first missionaries came, they landed in Lesotho. So can we just dive a little bit into that?
Okay, then maybe allow me to give you a bit of context in terms of how the book came into being.
Yes.
How the conceptualization of the book is concerned is that there is a commission that has been set up. It's called the History Commission, that has been set up to write this book, and we have sub commissions that are responsible for the book itself, where different chapters are assigned to different people. So in this regard, I think we need to give credence to our convener, Rev. Mapieye and MT Kosa, and our esteemed General Secretary, Mantandi, for coordinating this book. How the book is structured was based on the 140 years book that came into being in 2015, and that was called 140 years. So what we have done, we looked at the 140 years as the basis for writing this book, because I think there were gaps within that 140 years. And one of the things that this book sought to address was to fill in or address the gaps identified in the 140 years. So if you look at the structure of the book, we have your glossary, we have your preface, we have the foreword, we have acknowledgements, we have the first chapter that outlines the history of the Jubilees from 1998 to the present day, 2025. And what is interesting about this book is that we have gone further to include intangible elements in the book, like your literature, language, symbols, and what have you. I think which makes it different from the 140 years. And I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that 150 years, it's a long period, to an extent that the book cannot really capture every detail that has to do with that. Because if you look at how the book was written, we canvassed views from grassroots. So what one can say that writing of the book was a bottom-up approach, in the sense that we interacted with the congregants across the length and breadth of the church. We worked with parishes, we worked with presbyteries, we worked with guilds who provided information. So if you can imagine the avalanche of information that we have gathered and put it into this book, we are likely to run into about 1,000 pages, which people these days don't read.
True.
So there is a need for us, because the book is not complete yet, there is still a need for us to synthesize that information, so that by the time we share the book with you in the foreseeable, we have addressed all those issues.
All right, let's also just get into the fact that you are one of the writers, or
Correct.
rather the authors of the book.
Correct.
With all the authors having different types of writing styles, how did you guys then now come about in incorporating all your styles? Because one author's 2-liner can be another author's 3 pages.
Correct. I'm glad you asked that question, because that talks to the audience as well, to say, who is the book intended for? And we are saying that the book is intended for rank and file within the church. That is, anyone and everyone can relate to the church, to the book, and can relate to the experience shared in that book. Though I think there were debates to say that maybe the book needs to take an academic slant, but we have tried to manage that balance, though not easy. And also taking into consideration, because historiography, that is the writing of history, takes different formats. Where you have what scholars could term positivism, where you are interested in facts and nothing else. How you write is guided by facts. Where you have, I think, post-modernism, where you say the writing of history is something that is constructed by the author. So those kind of views are important to take into consideration. For example, the issue of us coming out of apartheid and being in a democratic space. There are views that maybe the book should give view or voice to the oppressed or those that were colonized. So in writing, you are mindful of all those paradigms, so that you are able to put together a balanced book.
Thank you very much. You also mentioned apartheid, and let's also just now dive into Black consciousness. How do you think that our church as EPCSA has influenced, or rather has went into politics as well? And how do you take that?
Okay, I can say that the church is a social institution, and being a social institution, it's a microcosm of a macro environment, meaning that what happens in the church is affected by what happens outside the church. And I think looking at our history in terms of where we come from, we have been victims of imperialism, colonialism, and apartheid in recent times, where I think with the coming to power of the nationalists in 1949, apartheid was institutionalized things were systematic to an extent that the voices of the oppressed were not taken into cognizance. So I think the church as a voice or as a spiritual voice of the masses took a correct decision by defending the rights of the downtrodden by looking at addressing social justice issues. So that is why you find that in 1963 there was FEDSHAM that was established. And I think the purpose of looking into that was that it was meant to train black theologians, because most of the black people were really not accommodated in white institutions. So that became a platform to address that. And if you look at how FEDSHAM, in my view, was structured, I think it dealt with issues of social justice. It dealt with issues of liberation theology.
Yes.
It also dealt with black consciousness, because by that time, most of the political movements were banned in the 1960s. So black consciousness began to take effect or to take root. And I think that was informed by the rise of African nationalism.
Yes.
Harold Macmillan in the 1960s saying that the winds of change will blow throughout the continent. So I think that vibe, that spirit really motivated the church, I think, to work around that. But I think there were also challenges, because during apartheid, when your homeland system was in place and the like, I think, that had an effect on how things should be. And I think the church really worked around that.
And what would you say that we, as the church, as the youth, could learn from those that trained at FEDSHAM, like the likes of our Right Reverend J.S. Moyane? What can, as the youth and as the church as a whole, learn from those leaders that had connections with the likes of your Steve Bikos and the Oliver Tambos?
I think there is a lot to be learned from that. And I think taking a leaf from people like Frantz Fanon, where he says that every generation should identify its mission.
Yes.
I think it's incumbent upon the current youth to also look at what their mission is, generational mission is. I think he calls it generational mission. And I think that generational mission will then help them to drive the country forward. Because I think if you look at the current situation where I think our youth are exposed to drugs, are exposed to all these social ills, there is a need for the church to play that important role.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And offline, you and I spoke about on how a lot of people don't read much, but prefer visuals and audio. And with the writing of the 150 years book, what do you think that would draw people that are not much into reading, but into visuals, that can also help in them wanting to also learn about the history of our church?
I'm glad you have raised that issue. I think there's a gap in terms of how we may have conceptualized the centenary offerings, because I think a documentary will really have been, would have complemented this publication, given the fact that we don't have anything that is visual that people can really relate to. But I don't think it's really late to have something like that.
It's never too late.
Yes. But I think what I'd also like to highlight are trials and tribulations that we went through as the writing committee or the writing commission. And I think thanking my colleagues for their spirited effort in making this publication possible. I think the issue of time,
Yes.
people having to sacrifice, having to translate, because I think we only met once. And some of the challenges that we experienced was getting information from different sources. The issue of photographs as well. It would have been appropriate maybe to visit sites like Valdesia, like
Yes.
Elim, like Washulubane, and other places, just to get the feel of the sites associated with what we're doing. And also to say, based on my little experience, that for a project of this magnitude,
Yes.
you also need to have what we call a legacy project. That is a project that will then come after this project, like
Yes.
maybe a memorial stone honoring people who may have played a sterling role in the church. And I think that will be a monument within the church. So I think those are things that, yes, it's never too late, but I think they can be looked into. And we also made great strides in accommodating women in our story.
Yes.
Because if you look at the first Jubilee, the 1898 to 1925, it is said that Manan Shlomulo was the first woman to be baptized, something that we really are not really expressive of. It's something that we really need to celebrate and really take it up. The role of Mfundisi Kubai as well.
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's very important. So
The
I
first
think
woman to be ordained.
yes. So I think it is important for us to sit back and based on that foundation, look at other women within our church as well,
Yes.
who really are playing a role in taking EPCSA to the next level, and I think we have quite a number of them.
And how do you think that the role of women in the church has evolved from the times of Rev B. Kubai?
I'm loath to say that we're not doing very well, but I think with time we can. I can
Yes.
see that we are really making those strides. And it should really be a commitment that we
Yes.
as a church take to ensure that women are given a greater voice in the affairs of the church.
True, it would be nice to have a woman moderator.
Well, very true. That I think will be important. That will be important.
Thank you. And you, at the beginning of our conversation, you also mentioned that in the book, on how you went on to talk to members in the presbyteries, in the guilds, and so forth. How do you think the guilds, as well as the presbyteries and parishes, play a role in the livelihood of our church and in the growth of our church as well?
I think the guilds are a lifeblood of the church.
Yes.
Because without them, I don't think much can really be attained. So I think we really need to be grateful that we have the guilds playing an important role in the church. And I think that needs to be documented. I think what I've picked up is that the 150th celebration, it's important in the sense that it has brought up opportunities that the church can take advantage of. For example, the issue of publications.
Yes.
There will, in my view, there will be a need for guilds to have a publication that details the story and life of the guilds. And I think that should happen to the presbyteries, that should happen to the parishes as well, because the information that we have gathered, it's such that we can have sub-publications that tell a detailed story about a particular guild, particular parish, particular presbytery, and the like.
All right, thank you very much. We also, on our offline conversation, spoke about that word, ecclesiastical.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Our heroes.
Correct.
And our leadership in the church, without having to name drop anybody, but what, or rather who, do you think are one of our unsung heroes in the church that maybe you've made mention, maybe on the book, that people might know or might not know of, without being?
Well, I think there's a section in the book that outlines that in the greatest of detail. I think these are people who come from parishes. These are people who come from who led the guilds, and also your rank and file. Because when you read the book, you'll get a sense that there are people who really sacrificed their properties to have people congregating at their places on Sundays. And I think that happened in different places. And for me, those are your unsung heroes. And I think they deserve some kind of mention. I think not also discounting our leadership for the sterling work that they have done. And what I can also say is that the intention of the book is really not to sanitize what the church could have done in 150 years, but also to highlight challenges that the church experienced over time. And in recent time, I think it was the issue of the what one can call split, where you have years. So I think with that and the efforts that we have made to date to bring all the parties together and congregate, I think for me it's a major milestone for this centenary, that we have a unified, united church working together and towards reaffirmation of this covenant.
True, because it was never nice having to be in a generation where there's a split in the church.
Correct.
You know, having others on one side, and it is a milestone that now we have now come together. There are still a little bit of challenges, of course, but in your view, how do you think that we can be able to overcome those?
I think the book, in one of the chapters, the church in the 21st century, I think sets some kind of a trajectory in terms of where the church needs to go, and journeying together into this future, having renewed views and objectives. I think that is one way of addressing all of that.
Yes. And looking forward after the 150 years of our church, where do you see it? Where do you see our people, the congregants, the guilds, the youth more especially? Because looking at our leadership, most of them are seniors, and there's just a handful of young people in the leadership and in the ministry of the church. Where do you see the church in the next, let's say, 50 years or the next 10 years, to be shorter?
I think the church remaining relevant.
Yes.
And flexible in terms of accommodating diverse views and experience, because I think the youth are a different animal altogether, and for them to embrace some of the values that we have, you may find that they're a bit archaic to an extent that maybe the youth can come to the fore and do things better. So I think
Yes.
the issue of succession, in my view, should be one of the things that we really take into consideration. My congregation, that is Braamfontein, I think we're doing quite well, and I think we could be a model to all the other parishes, I guess.
Well, thank you. No, I believe we do somehow in our own right look up to parishes that are like the likes of La Braamfontein. Thank you very much. And what's your message also to the future generation, the Sunday school generation? What would you have a message for them going into the future?
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one, but let me try and respond this way. If you look at churches globally, particularly in your first world countries, you will realize that most of the churches have been converted into something else. People no longer embrace whatever faith they had before. So I think we're still fortunate here in the continent where we still have churches where we really can go to and have them as places of worship. But I think what is critical for our church to grow and go forward is to shake off the notion that we are an ethnic church, because I think there is that perception to say evangelical Presbyterian, ikereke ya Machangani then.
Yes.
So I think we really need to change that perception. And I think there are a number of ways in doing that. I think we have started. We really can do more around those issues.
And I saw at our 150 Presbytery celebration in Hlanganani that Makanzelelo, some pages were written in Venda, in other Zulu.
Correct.
I think that was a good step
Correct.
in diversifying our church.
Correct.
So that we can go away with that notion, your EPCSA kereke machangani.
Oh, yeah. But I think the good thing is that we also marry across ethnic lines. And I think
True.
that should be something that really encourages us to say that for the mere fact that we Shangans don't, or Watsonga don't marry Watsonga, but they venture into other ethnic groups.
Yes.
I think that becomes important, and for the growth of our church as well. One thing that I see as a gap as well, it's the issue of intangible elements or heritage of our church. It's something that we don't emphasize, the issue of costume. Our first shambalo xo sungula xi ve rini, xi ve hi nkarhi wihi.
Yes.
What were the colors? Those for me are symbols that signifies the importance of the church, because I was fascinated, or rather surprised to learn that we took a leaf from Methodist Church with regards to Shambalo Shayina, yes. And the one way, one heart, Methodist Church also uses that. So I think
the slogan too.
Yes. So I think there is a need for us to research about that, so that I think we know all about that.
True.
Yes.
True, it would be nice, because sobe swaifanela loko imbarini inkweru.
Correct.
True. So taking it just back to the title of our book, An Everlasting Covenant, for those that don't know where it was derived from, can you please just dive into that as well? Tell us a little bit about our title.
I think for all I know, it was a decision that came from a synod to say the theme for this celebration or commemoration, as some may want to call it, will be this one. And I think it's truly relevant in the sense that it's like reaffirmation of our being with God, because I
Yes.
think covenants have to do with permanence,
Yes.
where I think the presence of God is permanent in our lives, and it also talk about sacredness,
Yes.
which has to do with divine authority, which God has over all of us. And it also looks into relationality, how we relate, how God relates with humanity. So the issue of covenant, I think, talks into that. And I think if you look at, there are examples with regards to that, because if you look at what we call Newark covenant, the
Yes.
covenant that has to do with Noah, where the promise was that God will protect Noah and all living creatures.
Yes.
And the symbolism around that was that God undertook not to destroy the universe again using floods.
Yes.
And the symbol for that, it's through the rainbow. I don't know if you know the
Yes.
rainbow. So I think the rainbow signifies all of that,
It
that
does.
yes, there can be. And if you look at Abrahamic covenant, it has to do with land, it has to do with prosperity as well.
Yes.
If you look at the new covenant, which I think as Christians we really subscribe to, it deals with redemption, and it deals with redemption and forgiveness.
And forgiveness.
Yes, where I think God brought His Son, Jesus Christ, for
Yes.
Him to save our lives and what have you. So for me, really, it's a reaffirmation. And I think now that we have done the 150 years, we have learned certain lessons, and we are rededicating ourselves again to the Almighty to say we are ready to walk another mile or another journey.
True. Thank you for that. And in holistically, what has been the most meaningful part for you personally in writing this book? I know it's not out as yet. We don't have a manuscript as yet. But what has this meant for you personally, and being Mwanawa EPC and growing into your adulthood as Mdodana? What has it meant to you personally?
Well, I think it's humility, because anyone else could have been part of this
True.
process. But I was co-opted to help in the writing of the book and giving advice where possible. And for me, really, there was so much to learn, so much to gain, and knowing more about the church and where we come from. And I think what I've learned, which I think is of interest, is that if you look at our families where we have where I can say like kota kupata shibongo sha hina then. I think
Yes.
through this process I was able to learn the origins of our faith, how this church really came into being, looking at the old early Jerusalem churches.
Yes.
Martin Luther putting together his theses in 1517, and those theses were able to redefine the Christian faith
Yes.
going forward, in a sense that at some stage I think we're part of the Roman Catholic, but through Martin Luther coming
Yes.
up with Protestant churches, we were then able to find expression as this church. And I think if you look at how Protestant faith is defined, you have Reformed churches
Yes.
and we have Lutheran churches. And with ours EPCSA, we fall under the Reformed churches. And churches like the Lutheran Church fall under the other pillar that I've
Yes,
just
yes.
mentioned.
Okay.
Yes.
And since the book is not out as yet and there isn't a manuscript, but from you looking into it, where can people find the book? Will we have an ebook or will we have a physical copy of the book?
Okay, then. Maybe let me take this opportunity to say that we are wrapping up the
Yes.
writing of the book. And what it means is that with the information that we have gathered, we have what the Tankosa calls it a dummy book.
Yes.
And through this dummy book, we will be giving it to a peer reviewer, an independent person who will rate and give his word or advice in terms of how the book is structured. There are certain sections in the book that will still require photographs, that will still require maps. Time permitting, we will include that. And when we have done that, we have gotten feedback from the reviewer. We'll then be able to finalize the
Yes.
book and take it to people who do layout and design, and we'll then have our book. So we are going to have a hard copy
Yes.
and also an ebook to accommodate diverse audiences.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you very much. And looking into timelines, are there any timelines? Because we are nearing the celebration of the 150 years in Valdezia. Do you think maybe we might just have a copy by then, or it's something that might just take a couple of months?
I'm putting my neck on the block. The book will be ready by the time we have this celebration.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of effort went into that. Like I said to you, that imagine having about 500 to 600 pages or 1,000 pages and having to distill them to a readable copy is really not easy.
It's not easy.
So we trying to work around that to make sure that we present a credible book.
Okay.
And I will urge our congregants, I think, to get a copy of the book because it chronicles important stories about the church. There's one section that I did not mention, which is which I think is important: the evolution of the Tonga language, looking at literature. The church played an important role in making Xitsonga literature possible. And that, I think, there are epochs that relate to those periods. If you look at the first epoch, which is the missionary period, they did quite a lot to ensure that whatever we do, it gets printed, gets recorded and printed. That is why I think we have the first book in 1883, book ya Chikwembu. I think it was written in a phonetic, like, if one were to put it that way. And I think also credit the influence of Basotho in the writing of our books. And I think Professor Golele, who I think contributed a section on that, puts it aptly in terms of how she has outlined this evolution of the Xitsonga literature. So the second part, I think from it's 1936 to 1955, we began to see the emergence of indigenous writers.
Yes.
And one can talk about Xitsonga literature without mentioning Dr. D.C. Marivate, being a musician, a teacher, a politician, and all of that. So the book does give detail insofar as that is concerned. We also had the apartheid era period, that is from 1955 to 1968. That period was important in terms of literature because a lot of writers began to challenge apartheid through their writings. And I think one such example, it's B.J. Masevenza
Yes.
with his poem, Remenyo. I think how you analyze that, you are able to make sense of what the situation was during that time.
Yes.
Your BKM, Tombeni and the like. We also had the homeland era period. I think that period we did achieve a lot in terms of writing, because most of the writers began to express issues that were of a social nature, inequalities and what have you. And that outlines how, so all this information that I'm sharing with you appears in the document.
Yes. It's quite an informative book, looking back our history, where the ministry had started, and the church's involvement in politics and Tonga literature as well. It's very informative, and I would urge everybody to purchase the book, and not just Yina as congregants of the EPCSA church, but then everybody at large, because it doesn't just touch on the history of EPCSA,
Correct.
but everything at large. Hey,
It does, yes. The beauty about it is that it does talk about Lesotho.
yes,
It does talk about Mozambique, given our relationship with Mozambique.
Yes,
So I think it will also touch KwaZulu-Natal, Bloemfontein and the like, which in my view, it's really of interest.
true.
Yes, so I will say that the 140 book, it is important in the sense that it provides a detailed account of that pioneering period, which I think people can lay their hands on that book, just
yes.
to get the detail in terms of how things unfolded. And it also provides highlights to what we have detailed today in the 150 book.
So the 140 book and the 150 book, is it like a series that, like a story from it into the 150, or it's a separate?
There's some kind of continuation, yes, where I think where there were gaps, we have managed to address those gaps and provided a lot of detail insofar as that is concerned.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maluleke. And any final last words of encouragement for our EPCSA community as we celebrate this 150 years of ministry?
Yes, I think what I've learned with the church is that we need to go back to the basics. We had farms,
Yes.
we had schools, we had hospitals. And if you look at our portfolio today, we don't have all of that. And
Yes.
I think it is time to what one philosopher called Rousseau say, we need to go back to nature. That is to interrogate our steps.
Yes.
To say, why have we lost all of that, and what can we do to regain all of that? And I think if you look at the brain thrust within the church, we really can do so much to revive all of that. And I don't think we really doing enough insofar as that is concerned to rally all our efforts and make sure that we reclaim our past glory. So my view is that let's use the next 100 years as a way to retrace our steps and to reclaim our ground through the intellectual thrust that we have as congregants to contribute for the greater good of the church and for the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have come to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for
My
saying
pleasure.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much for giving us the opportunity
Okay.
to be able to speak to you and just reminding us of the history as well of
Okay.
our church.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khensani
My pleasure.
Maluleke.
All right.
Thank you very much, viewers, for listening and tuning in. And this was and has been our official episode number 1. And our show is now called The Faith Table. And I will be your host, Fumani Sono. So from Mr. Maluleke and myself and our Faith Table, it's all love.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please do share in all the social media platforms. Thank you very much.